Operation Nordwind often gets overshadowed by the far more famous Battle of the Bulge. In both German offensives, tanks and Panzers played a major role. As World War II started its final year in the winter month of January 1945, the Germans would prove once more that they still had some fighting left in them. Operation Nordvent was the offensive of the 1st German Army in the Alsace. It commenced on the 31st of December 1944, and the goal of the offensive was to break through the American 7th Army and the French 1st Army. Early in the morning of the 17th of January, Combat Commands A and B of the 12th Armoured Division prepared once more to attack the German bridgehead over the River Rhine near the villages of Herrlisheim and Offendorf. As previous days' fighting showed, it was going to be far from a walk in the park for the American tankers, who had already endured heavy losses during the prior battles around Herrlisheim. For the attack, the 23rd Tank Battalion was shifted from Combat Command B to Combat Command A. In exchange, C Company of the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion was shifted to Combat Command B. The objective for Combat Command B was a point just north of Herrlisheim, where the D468 intersected with the railway line. But just like the previous days, the attack quickly stalled under heavy artillery and anti-tank gun fire. Combat Command A attacked the hotly contested woods of Steinwald, where it had endured immense losses the day before. The 66th Armoured Infantry Battalion fared no better than the previous day, and they had to pull back to avoid being completely destroyed. As dawn broke on the 17th of January, the 43rd Tank Battalion, together with the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion, attacked from the north of Steinwald towards the D468 and the railway line to the east of Herrlisheim. 4 tanks were lost before the battalion reached the southern edge of the village. At 7:40 am, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Novosel, in command of the 43rd, reported back that he was about to enter Herrlisheim. An hour and 10 minutes later, at 8:50 am, the battalion reported that it was taking heavy anti-tank gun fire from inside the town. Shortly after, Major Ernst Johann Tetsch, the commander of the 1st Battalion, SS Panzer Regiment 10, ordered several of his Panther tanks to advance towards the village. The Panther tanks of the 10th SS Frauensberg rolled steadily into the village under the cover of the thick fog. The Panthers ran into American fire and they lost 1 Panther, and the commander of the 3rd Company was wounded. Major Tetsch didn't want to risk losing more tanks in the chaotic situation, so he ordered the attacking Panthers back to Offendorf. At about 10 am, the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion lost touch with Colonel Novosel's tanks. A few minutes later, radio contact was back as it should have been, and the 43rd Tank Battalion reported to be in the eastern part of the village. At 10:30 am, Novosel radioed in the words, "Yesterday was a circus compared to what it is today." In the meantime, the 23rd Tank Battalion was taking heavy casualties in front of the 1st Battalion, SS Panzer Regiment 10's assembly area. Companies A and C had been reduced to a mere 20 battle-ready tanks. As the attacks from Combat Command B were failing in the north, Combat Command A changed the objective of the 23rd Tank Battalion from Offendorf to Drusenheim. But between them and Drusenheim was the village of Herrlisheim. The commanding officer of the 23rd, Major Edwards, couldn't find any trace of the 43rd Tank Battalion in the fog, despite the 43rd still being in contact through the radio. As there was still contact with Novosel's battalion, Edwards ordered 20 of his tanks to roll through Herrlisheim towards their objective. The tank commanders of Edwards, however, decided otherwise, and they joined the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion in the fighting for Herrlisheim. Around noon, A and B companies of the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion still hadn't found the tanks of Novosel through the thick fog, and both companies positioned themselves near the crossroads leading towards Drusenheim. At 12:30 pm, Novosel reported that things were hot inside the town and he requested infantry support. An hour later, Novosel's unit would cease to exist. Just after noon on the 17th of January 1945, SS Obersturmführer Erwin Bachmann, the adjutant of the 1. Abteilung SS Panzer Regiment 10, took a platoon of 2 Panthers of the Dritte Kompanie up towards the village. Bachmann himself was on a motorcycle to scout for his 2 Panther tanks, which he ordered to take up a position on the road to provide covering fire. Bachmann proceeded on foot, and when he came under fire from an American Sherman tank, he ran back towards the motorcycle to pick up a Panzerfaust. He quickly ran back towards the scene and took up a position in a nearby house from where he could see 2 Sherman tanks. He ran closer and destroyed one of the Shermans from just 30 meters. Following the close quarters combat, he returned to the 2 Panthers and informed them of the situation. He ordered a 2nd Panther to proceed down the road up until the bend from where he had been fired upon by the Sherman tank. He ordered the 1st Panther under the command of SS Unterscharführer Mühlbrad to follow him with the turret looking towards 3 o'clock. They took a side road, and with the turret position they could immediately fire on the tanks down the corner of the crossroads. Via the onboard radios the communication was maintained and both Panthers coordinated perfectly. In just a few minutes several Sherman tanks were knocked out. Suddenly a white flag appeared, the Germans held their fire, and an American officer appeared who offered to surrender with the 60 men under his command. The officer also released some 20 German prisoners. Bachmann asked whether or not they were the crews of the tanks they had knocked out. He was surprised to hear that they weren't, and that they were in fact the crews of the few remaining tanks who weren't damaged. Bachmann ordered the American drivers to take their tanks to German lines at Offendorf. Each driver would be escorted by a German soldier. Around 14 of the 43rd Tank Battalion's tanks were destroyed in Herrlisheim, and Bachmann managed to capture a total of 12 Sherman tanks. Tetsch's adjutant also claimed that both Panthers racked up a combined total of 9 Sherman tanks knocked out. The 43rd Tank Battalion was completely wiped out. After their initial firefight in the town, the 2 Panthers took up a position on the edge of Herrlisheim, where they destroyed another 2 Sherman tanks. In the meantime, Bachmann informed his battalion headquarters of the approaching column of friendly Sherman tanks. At 4 p.m. the Germans launched a counterattack on the village, and 6 of the battalion's Panthers flanked A Company of the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion at the railway embankment. The German Panzer attack pushed the American 23rd Tank Battalion out of the village, and the remnants of the 17th Armoured Infantry Battalion were also forced to retreat, although they maintained a toehold in the southern part of Herrlisheim. As the 17th of January drew to a close, the 43rd Tank Battalion of Novosel had ceased to exist. They were either knocked out or captured by SS Obersturmführer Erwin Bachmann and the 2 Panther tanks of the 10th SS Frauensberg Division. For his actions on the 17th of January 1945, Bachmann was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. This was the Ace Destroyer. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you are into tank battles of World War II, you can always check out my other videos in the series, covering a British and French tank ace. You can always subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Also, don't forget to comment something down below. Cheers!